Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. What if the very thing you're chasing, success, peace, love, wealth, isn't running from you, but waiting for you? Waiting for you to focus not on fixing the world, not on changing them, but on you. See, most people are trying to rearrange the furniture in a burning house. They hustle to fix their business, their relationship, their money, while ignoring the one thing that's holding it all together or tearing it all down, their own identity. Let me break it down for you. Focus on yourself and watch everything fall into place. Years ago, I found myself standing in my driveway, staring at a car that wouldn't start, with a bank account that barely had enough gas money to get me to the next meeting. My business was flatlining, my relationships were strained, and every door I knocked on seemed to slam shut before I even got a chance to speak. I thought I had a money problem. I thought I had a client problem. I even thought I had a God problem. But then I realized I had a me problem. Let me tell you something. Your outer world is a perfect reflection of your inner world. Life doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your identity. You can't sow thoughts of lack, fear, and insecurity and then expect to harvest abundance, peace, and power. That's like planting tomato seeds and praying for an apple tree. God is a God of order and alignment. If you want the harvest, you've got to align the seed. See, internal alignment isn't just about thinking positively. That's surface level stuff. This is deeper. This is about the spiritual and emotional root system that drives everything you do. Your habits, your words, your decisions, your relationships. They're all flowing from one place. Your belief about who you are and what you're worth. Some of y'all are frustrated because you keep changing the thermostat on your life, trying to turn the heat up on your income, your influence, your impact. But deep down, the internal temperature of your identity is set on barely surviving. So every time you start to rise, your subconscious pulls you back. Why? Because your inner self doesn't believe you're worthy of the next level. I remember when I got this, I sat in silence and asked God, what am I doing wrong? And clear as day, the answer came. You're trying to build a palace on a cracked foundation. You're building strategies, but you haven't built yourself. You're trying to close clients, but you haven't closed the gap between who I created you to be and who you settled for being. Listen, when you align with who God says you are, when your self-position matches your calling, everything else starts to move. It's like a lock and key. When the key of your identity fits the lock of your assignment, the door swings open. Think about a tree. The fruit is the result, but it starts with what's buried under the ground, the root. Most people spend all their energy trying to polish the fruit, making their Instagram feed look good, getting the perfect logo, tweaking their website, when what they really need is a root job. You don't need another marketing strategy. You need to ask, who am I becoming? Because when you shift what's happening internally, when your mindset and your spirit get into divine alignment, the fruit takes care of itself. Clients start showing up. Ideas start flowing. Peace becomes your default setting. Doors open not because you're forcing them, but because you're finally the person who belongs on the other side. That's the power of internal alignment. You don't have to chase anything. You just have to become someone who naturally attracts what you were created to carry. So the question isn't, how do I get more? The question is, who do I need to become so that more is drawn to me by default? Because until your internal world matches your external goals, you'll always be hustling for what should be happening naturally. And once you get this, once you truly focus on yourself, not from a place of selfishness, but from a place of stewardship, everything else begins to fall into place. Let me tell you a hard truth most people don't want to hear. You are not in control of other people. You are not responsible for their choices, their reactions, their belief systems, or their pace of growth. And yet, so many of us spend our lives trying to change people, spouses, children, clients, business partners, hoping that if they get it together, we can finally move forward. That is an exhausting lie, and it's one that's keeping too many of us stuck in frustration and burnout. I learned this the hard way. Early in my entrepreneurial journey, I kept trying to force clients to see their potential, to value what I brought to the table. I was chasing down leads, over-explaining my worth, giving discounts, begging people to take the very thing that could change their lives. And every time they said no, I didn't just take it personally, I took it as proof that they were the problem. But here's what I discovered. People don't change because you push them. They change because they see something different in you. I realized I had fallen into a dangerous trap, the illusion of control. It's the same trap that ruins marriages, destroys teams, and stunts leaders. We believe if we just say the right words, do enough convincing, show enough passion, we can make someone believe, understand, grow, shift. But friend, that's not leadership. That's manipulation disguised as help. That's pride dressed up like purpose. The real power is not in changing them, it's in changing you. When you release the need to control others, you reclaim the power to transform yourself. And that's when everything starts to change. Yeah, I used to try to lead my family by fixing them. Now I lead by fixing me. I used to try to manage my business by micromanaging people. Now I focus on mastering myself. And do you know what happened? They started changing without me saying a word. Because when your energy changes, your environment can't help but respond. When your mindset elevates, the room you're in will either rise with you or release you, but either way, you're. Some of y'all are walking around spiritually and emotionally exhausted, not because life is too hard, but because you've taken on burdens God never gave you. God never told you to carry people, he told you to carry purpose. And purpose starts with ownership, not of them, but of you. You want peace in your home? Start speaking peace over yourself. You want loyalty in your team? Show up with integrity, whether they do or not. You want growth in your business? Grow your discipline, grow your value, grow your faith. Stop trying to be the architect of everyone else's journey. You are not the potter, you're the clay. And the more you try to rearrange what's outside of you without transforming what's inside of you, the more chaos you create. That's why your effort feels heavy. That's why the more you try, the more tired you get. Because you've placed the weight of other people's decisions on your back, and that was never your assignment. Okay, let me put it another way. When you stop managing what's not yours, you finally have the strength to build what is. You don't need to get louder. You don't need to fight harder. You just need to get still, get focused, and get aligned. Because real influence isn't about domination. It's about demonstration. You show people what's possible by becoming what's possible. Not by controlling them, but by transforming you. And when you do that, something powerful happens. The right people start to shift, the wrong ones start to drift, and you stay in peace either way. That's the freedom that comes when you stop trying to control what's outside and start owning what's within. Let me tell you something that changed my entire life. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. If you've ever wondered why certain things seem just out of reach, why you keep hitting the same ceiling, repeating the same cycle, or watching opportunities pass you by, it's not because you're unlucky. It's not because you're not talented. It's not even because you're not trying hard enough. It's because your identity has not caught up with your destiny. You can't consistently outperform your self-image. That's not motivational fluff, that's principle. God designed you to operate in alignment with what's inside has to match what you're asking him to pour on the outside. So when your identity is still tied to limitation, fear, and survival, but your vision is asking for elevation, abundance, and dominion, you're going to experience tension, resistance, delay. Because God will never give you something you're not prepared to sustain. I remember coaching a young man who kept telling me, I'm ready to earn 6 figures. And I said, you're speaking the right number, but you're still showing up like a 5-figure version of yourself. His habits, his mindset, the way he spoke about himself, the way he handled adversity, all of it said he was still stuck in survival mode. He was trying to drag his old identity into a new season, and it wasn't working. Why? Because your next level isn't waiting on your hustle, it's waiting on your identity. You've got to stop thinking you can build $1 million business with a minimum wage mindset. You can't receive healthy love if you still believe you're only worthy of being tolerated. You can't walk in authority while clinging to the labels of your past. And hear me, this is not about faking it until you make it. No, this is about faithing it until you become it. Who you believe you are determines what you pursue, what you tolerate, what you expect, and what you accept. If you don't believe you're worthy of wealth, you'll sabotage every financial breakthrough. If you don't see yourself as a leader, you'll defer, you'll shrink, you'll stay quiet when it's your time to speak. Identity is the root of every result. And until you upgrade it, you'll stay stuck no matter how many books you read, podcasts you play, or masterminds you join. I want to ask you, when you wake up in the morning, who do you believe you are? Not who do you hope to be, not who do you pretend to be on social media. I'm talking about when no one's watching. What's the internal narrative running in the background of your mind? Because that's the version of you that's creating your life. You want to change your outcomes? Start by changing your language. Start declaring what God says about you, even when your circumstances try to contradict it. Speak it until your spirit catches up. Say it until your habits start to reflect it. Because once your identity is locked in on a higher frequency, you won't have to chase the outcome. The outcome will chase you. I had to decide that I was no longer a man trying to succeed. I was success in motion. I had to stop trying to become confident and start embodying confidence. I had to stop saying one day I'll be great and start declaring greatness is already in me. That shift didn't just change my mindset, it changed my outcomes. And here's the most powerful part. Your identity is not something you earn, it's something you accept. God already put greatness in you. He already gave you authority, creativity, and dominion. The question is, have you received it? Or are you still trying to negotiate with who you used to be? Because the moment you stop trying to deserve a better life and start deciding to become the person who lives it, everything changes. There's a formula that most people overlook because it sounds too simple, but it's one of the most powerful principles I've ever applied to my life. Faith, when you combine unshakable belief with undivided attention, you unlock a supernatural rhythm. Where doors start opening, connections start forming, and opportunities begin showing up that you never even knew existed. Let me break it down. Faith is not just a feeling. Faith is not wishful thinking. Faith is certainty about what you don't yet see. It's moving as if the promise is already fulfilled. It's taking action before the evidence shows up, and focus. Real focus isn't just about ignoring distractions. It's about locking in so deeply on your God-given assignment that nothing and no one can pull you out of alignment. The problem with most people is they have faith without focus. They believe God has something great for them, but they won't sit down long enough to build it. They keep jumping from idea to idea, distracted by noise, addicted to comparison, chasing shortcuts instead of sowing deep, and then they wonder why nothing's working. On the other hand, some people have focus without faith. They're grinding hard, doing all the things, emails, funnels, content, sales calls, but deep down, they don't believe they're actually worthy of the blessing. They don't believe they're favored. So their actions are laced with anxiety and fear. They work like orphans instead of sons and daughters. And let me tell you something, that's not kingdom living. But when you combine both, when you focus your energy and discipline and back it with the bold, unshakable belief that God has already gone before you, something miraculous happens. That's when you step into favor. And favor is not fair. It doesn't follow the rules of logic or timing. Favor can take what would have taken you 10 years in the natural and collapse it into 10 months. Favor will get you in rooms your resume doesn't qualify you for. Favor will connect you with people you didn't even know existed, and suddenly they're calling your name, opening doors, offering platforms, not because you campaigned, but because you were focused and faithful. I remember one season in my life when I decided I was done being halfway in. I made a decision. I was going to get laser focused on the assignment God gave me. I stopped multitasking my calling. I cut off every distraction that wasn't serving my direction, and I believed, really believed, that God was bringing the increase. Do you know what happened? Within months, things started accelerating. Clients started showing up out of nowhere. Partnerships I couldn't have orchestrated on my best day started forming. Resources came. Visibility increased. Why? Not because I was trying to go viral, but because I was finally in position for favor to find me. Let me be clear. Favor is not earned. It's not something you hustle for. Favor is attracted to obedience. Favor finds focus. It flows to those who steward their gift with excellence and consistency. And when you move with faith, when your mindset is God already said yes, so I'm going to act like it, you create a gravitational pull for the miraculous. But you've got to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. The enemy's greatest weapon against your breakthrough isn't tragedy, it's distraction. If he can't make you quit, he'll try to make you busy. He'll try to keep you scattered, constantly starting over, always questioning yourself. But you weren't created to live scattered. You were created to live sharp, strategic, on assignment. So when you rise each day, don't just hope things will change. Declare who you are. Move with precision. Think with intention. Speak with power. Show up like the future has already been written, because in the kingdom, it has. And that's when you'll start to notice things falling into place, not because you chased them, but because you became magnetic to the favor that was waiting on your alignment.